Good afternoon and welcome to Big Bets on Campus Live, presented by BetMGM. This is the College Basketball National Championship betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, are the guys from the three-man weave, McKeon, Matt Cox, and of course, the one and only Mr. Jim Root. Going to get to the game. We'll give our props. We'll also bring in our analytics crew for some thoughts on some player props and talk to the universally loved Darren Rovell for a market report. Before we get started here, I do want to remind everyone to make sure you download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our bets there, in addition to an abundance of data and content for today's slate and beyond. Also, as a reminder, Big Bets on Campus is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Gentlemen, before we get to the game, first of all, we should all pat ourselves on the back for a third straight FAU consensus hit. Sadly, they're not in the tournament, but good teams win, great teams cover. The Owls get another cover. Jim, I want to get your thoughts on the game and the final shot, but before we get there, Kai, you're having a rough weekend. First, I see you can't dunk anymore, and then you spilled water on your computer. And how's it going there in Houston?
Stuckey, it's a struggle, but I'm fighting through. Yeah, the dunking thing, I'm approaching mid-30s. I get it. It's not that big of a deal, but it still hurts a bit. 4 or 5 more attempts, that dunk goes down. And then the computer thing, I'm on my phone right now. Yes, there's some water in the keyboard, but you know what? I'm optimistic for that as well.
It's my fault.
It is Matt's fault. I don't want to throw him under the bus.
Oh, Matt, you spilled the water on his computer?
Yeah, there's probably like 100 people at NRG who saw the whole thing transpire, and I darted down and got a bunch of paper towels, and we were doing the upside down maneuver thing. It was a disaster. I mean, luckily the game was like 25 points and no one actually cared at that point, so that was a good sideshow event for the latter game in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Feel bad for my guy Kai though.
Jim, well, you still have your computer, and you didn't attempt any dunks. We saw you hit your shot too. I don't know how many takes it took, but you looked good there. As far as the games we saw last night, Connecticut rolled again. Shocking news there. But the FAU game, I still feel for the Owls. It felt like they had that game the entire way. Golden missing free throws. I thought we were going to lose the cover on San Diego State missed free throw offensive rebounds, which were irritating me. But FAU gets the cover, doesn't get there in the end. What were your thoughts on the final possession, final minute, and are you bummed for the Owls?
I'm incredibly bummed for the Owls. It was an awesome story the whole way through. Super impressed with them in the post-game presser. Like Nick Boyd, I thought he'd be crushed and downtrodden. He's like, I'm happy about the journey. I want to get in the gym tomorrow. Like, it sounds like FAU is going to be back with a vengeance next year. I hope so. We're going to be betting on our Owls quite a bit. As far as the last possession, I thought Dutcher would foul, but it seemed like it was coin flip territory, and he's got a top 5 defense, was able to get his best defensive lineup on the floor. Kind of made sense, but it was still risky. It just worked out about as well as it could, and Nelly Davis went too early, unfortunately.
Just a tad, yeah. People are saying that, and I agree, but against San Diego State all day, if you look, most of their success was early, and like they were being aggressive. So it was kind of how they were playing all game, which I get. But yeah, from a time perspective, went just a tad early. As an FAU backer, with the spread in mind first, I was happy that Dutcher decided not to foul. I was like, all right, let's just make this come down to. And then I didn't think San Diego State was going to get the shot off. I was like, are they going to get? And then what a shot! And they go to the national
quick
title.
PSA, Stuck.
Sure, of course.
Because I saw some people saying, and I thought this too earlier in the season, late in the game, if that shot clock disparity is really close, just like throw the ball up to the rafters and let the shot clock expire. There's a rule or like a bylaw that if it's late in the game like that, they will reset the shot clock to earlier or when it would have expired, basically. Like if you don't hit the rim, you're not trying to hit the rim, they'll reset it so that you have time to actually get a possession on the other end. You can't like game the system like that. I didn't know that.
Kai, let me throw it to you. What are you seeing here from either a side total or just general thoughts perspective?
Yeah, well, first of all, you talk about elite defense. How about UConn's elite defense? Held Miami to 59 points yesterday, the lowest they scored all season. They're super long. They're ridiculous athletes. And you have to have luck in the NCAA tournament. Every single team does. But if you think UConn's been lucky throughout this run, it's just wrong. It's probably one of the most dominant runs we've ever seen, beating teams by an average of 20.6 points per game. And San Diego State has had quite the helping of luck. I think it was Chris Fallica that said it first, the Bear on Twitter. San Diego State, first team ever to win their Elite Eight and Final Four game by exactly 1 point. So they've been kind of, slipping by the skin of their teeth. This should be FAU. The line is definitely high. KenPom makes it 6, obviously 7.5, higher, given the UConn premium. But I think the Huskies smash.
Yeah, you're definitely getting a little bit of a premium here, I think, for what UConn has done, and maybe it's deserved. I mean, all they do is go out. And this is a Miami team that was just putting up 90 easily against Houston and Texas and then Indiana before that, and they completely shut the Hoosiers down. This team is playing so well. Jim, is this line deserved? Is it a little bit too high? What are your thoughts on the game?
Just based on where I'd rate the teams, I'd have it as too high. But man, I don't want to have to bet San Diego State. I don't have an appetite to get in on them. I don't want to fade UConn. Team's just a juggernaut right now. I said it on our Final Four preview. They're undefeated against the spread against non-conference competition.
16-0 now, right?
Yeah, 16-0 against the spread. It's ludicrous. So you're not going to get me to bet San Diego State, even though I think the line's a little high. I still think UConn smashes. So I'm debating putting something small on UConn just based on that gut instinct and the fact that they're rolling. And there's the prep time against UConn. I mentioned it. Mark Few said it after the Elite Eight game. He's like, if you only have 48 hours for that team, like, you're just screwed. Like, there's just too much to prepare for. They're still adding new wrinkles. Like, the play at the end of the first half was something they added recently into their playbook. So there's just too much to prepare for with UConn. I don't think San Diego State can score. So definite lean towards UConn. Don't have a lot of take on the total, though.
Yeah, I think the total's about right. I think just from a pure numbers perspective, I agree. Like, I'm around like a tad over 6, so 7.5 would be a little too high, but I'm not getting in front of this Connecticut train. I'll find a way to have Connecticut somehow, some way in this game, whether it's money line, pairing them with something else, or if they're down early and get a good live number, that's what I'll be looking for. This team is just on another level right now. They're playing so well. What I will hope for is Matt Bradley comes out and goes 4 for 4 from 3 to start the game, similar to what happened against FAU. And look, that's how San Diego State's going to need him to have a monster game. But if he comes out red hot early, San Diego State goes up 8-9. Oh, please get me in on UConn. They're just playing. They're just a different class right now. And I don't want to get in front of them. So it's Huskies any way you can find to bet them, whether it's live, money line is what I'm looking for as well. All right, we'll share our thoughts on potential player prop looks in just a second. Speaking of which, let's check in with our analytics crew for some thoughts there.
Thanks, Stuck, and happy National Championship Monday to you all. Let's close off a great March Madness with one more player prop. For that player prop, I am going to go with UConn's Andre Jackson, under 5.5 assists at -150, or you can get that under 4.5 assists at +118. Both of those numbers I'm showing value on. So let's just start a little bit here with the basics. Jackson averages 4.7 assists this year in 29 minutes of playing time. And that's with UConn scoring just over 78 points per game in those games that he has played. Well, for the national championship game, we're projecting for 33 minutes, so a bump up there, which would bump up that 4.7 point projection. But on the flip side, we're only projecting UConn for 70 total points. I should say that's UConn's team total, which is a 12.5% decrease. So overall, the increased minutes, but the decreased team total balances out. So, the baseline projection would be about 4.8 assists for Andre Jackson, but there's more. We have to get into the matchup nitty gritty here. San Diego State, first of all, is a tempo down game for UConn. They play at a slower pace than the national average, so that just means fewer overall possessions. Also, San Diego State is a great effective field goal percentage shooting defense, which means there's going to be more missed shots that UConn will have than normal. More missed shots means fewer shots that go in, so fewer assists. And then when UConn does score, when they do score from a field goal, San Diego State allows a much lower assist rate against than the national average. So that is going to have to reduce Jackson's projection even more because San Diego State is good at preventing assists on unmade buckets. So we're even using a generous assist rate projection for Andre Jackson himself. I'm deciding to use his full season assist rate, but actually, if you look at his assist rate against top 100 or top 50 teams, it's a little bit lower. So I'm actually being generous with his assist rate projection there. So overall, on the whole balance of things, you take that 4.8 number that we got from our basic calculation, you drop it down based off the matchup, and still being a little generous with his assist rate, we're getting 4.5 for his projected assist number. That means we have a 70.2% chance of staying under 5.5 assists, and we have a 53.1% chance of staying under 4.5 assists. So that is my final player prop for March Madness. Back to you, Stuck.
All right, good stuff there. Let's share our own thoughts on who you're targeting or potentially thinking about from a player props perspective. Maddie, one last time. I'll throw it to you until next year. Bittersweet. What are you looking at here from a player prop perspective?
I think if I end up dabbling UConn, as you said, you were stuck just to have some action in this game, I'm going to probably hedge the other way with my player props. Just looking at some of the odds right now, very heavily shaded towards UConn. Every player basically closer to a favorite than San Diego State, reflective of the full game line. No way an Aztec player wins this unless they win this game. If you think they compete in this game, I mean, Matt Bradley at 6-1, Lamont Butler at 15-1. Those are some pretty good prices for, if they win, you get pretty good value there. I think just given the way Bradley played in that semifinal game, he talked about this in the post-game presser. He just kind of went back in the gym, got refocused, reset in the pregame shoot around. He just kind of had a different swagger about him, and they really couldn't guard him. I thought you had no chance. I mean, John L. Davis was completely torched by him. That jab step, the step back. I think Bradley's worth a look at 6-1 if you can get that price out there, and sort of as a quasi hedge against any UConn action you might have.
Yeah, don't mind that at all. I think that the only way, UConn obviously could just have a horrendous game, but I think that it's hard for me to envision San Diego State winning this game without Bradley having a monster game, right? And when he's on, he's almost unguardable, right? Like, it doesn't matter how much length you have. He's going to hit, he just takes tough shots over length, step backs, like you said. He's got to be on and got to be hot for San Diego State to win this game. So I like that look. Kai, any player prop thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, well, from a most outstanding player perspective, I don't see any player on UConn winning it besides Sanogo. He is like minus 150 out there in the market, but he's going to win most outstanding player. We've seen voters default to the best player on the team anyways. Just last year, they defaulted to Agbaji, even though McCormick probably deserved it. Sanogo already had a big game in the prior game. From a player prop perspective, I'm probably going to target looking at Ladie under scoring rebounds. I just don't think he has nearly as much success against this UConn front line. Might not even be able to play many minutes in this game, or at least nearly as many minutes he played against FAU. So that's probably the player I'm going to target from a player props perspective for the game. Good stuff there, Jim. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking at the 3-point made market for UConn. San Diego State gives up a ton, 282nd in 3-point attempt rate. Obviously, some of those are late shot clock where you're having to heave it up. But like Alex Karaban, over 1.5. The line I'm seeing right now is plus 145. He's gone 2 for 6 the last 2 games. You give me 6 attempts with him, I'll take my chances because he's a great shooter. Usually they're open because of the way Newton and Jackson set him up. And then the flip side, Andre Jackson under 0.5. I like that. He didn't take a single 3 last game. Part of that was because of his foul trouble, which unfortunately torpedoed my over 5.5 assist bet. But I just don't think he's going to be tempted into taking threes in such a big moment. Could be a rather slow game for UConn. I think he'll know he needs to get downhill and try to find other shooters. So under 0.5 3-point made for Andre Jackson, I think is a decent look as well.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to go back to the well with Trammell under points. Look, it's similar to the handicap with Pack that I had, and Trammell in some aspects, but he's very 3-point reliant. And when he's not getting his threes, look, he's only averaging, if he does under 3 threes, he's only averaging 9 points per game. He's going up against one of, if not the best 3-point defense in the country when you look at percentage allowed and attempt rate allowed And there's just so much length that I think he's going to be bothered by. And we all just talked about how Bradley kind of got it going. And when he's going, it kind of takes the scoring onus off of Trammell. So I think he's going to struggle with the length on UConn. So I'm going back to the well with a Trammell under. All right, let's take a quick break in the action and check in with the universally loved and respected Darren Rovell for a market report.
Hey guys, let's get to the splits for the national championship game. UConn, 7.5-point favorites, getting 68% of the bets and 81% of the handle. God, that seems like that could concern a lot of people. UConn has won at least 5 games, those 5 games, by at least 13 points. They are only the 5th team that has done so. 4 went on to win the national championship, and all 4 won by at least 8 points. 132.5 is the total. 78% of the bets and 84% of the handle is on the over. UConn started the season 66-1, now down to minus 375. And amazingly, that is the 3rd most popular bet tonight, behind San Diego State plus 300 and UConn minus 7.5. San Diego State opened the season 80-1, and obviously now to plus 300. And a reminder that Big Bets on Campus is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Guys, have a great night, and back to you.
Thank you, Darren. And thank you all for tuning in today and all season. It's been a fun ride. Enjoy the final game of the college basketball season. Thanks, of course, to all the guys from the 3-Man Weave, our audio and video teams on the back end, and our sponsor, BetMGM. Make sure you download Big Bets on Campus wherever you listen to podcasts. Good luck with all of your wagers on the final game of the season, and we will see you next year. Cheers.